The stage has finally been set in the Eastern Mediterranean. After 50 years of maritime deadlock, Greece and Cyprus have achieved the impossible: the legal framework, international backing, and financial commitment to finally delimit their exclusive economic zones and create one unified maritime boundary that could reshape Mediterranean power dynamics for generations. Why now? Because the missing pieces have finally fallen into place. The legal foundation already exists through UNCLOS, granting both nations the right to define and protect their maritime zones. Alliances are stronger than ever, with the United States, Israel, and Egypt aligning alongside Greece and Cyprus to stabilize the region and secure Europe's future energy routes. And most importantly, the money is back on the table. Europe's search for energy independence has reignited interest in two long-paused megaprojects, the EastMed pipeline and the Cyprus-Greece power interconnector. Now backed by billions in EU funding and strong US and Israeli support, both are back in motion, not just as energy projects, but as geopolitical statements. This is the moment Greece and Cyprus can turn diplomacy into action, uniting their seas under law, alliance, and opportunity. Stay with me until the end, as Money Trail explains why the time has finally come for Greece and Cyprus to unite their EEZs. In the last 18 months, 3 seismic shifts created the perfect storm in the Eastern Mediterranean. And this time, it's different. First, Brussels and Washington abandoned their spectator roles. The EU just committed €657 million to the Great Sea Interconnector, transforming a decade-old blueprint into Europe's newest energy weapon. But this isn't just about cables, it's about control. When you connect 3 democracies under one grid, you're not just sharing electricity, you're sharing power. Second, Athens made a play that would have been unthinkable 5 years ago. ExxonMobil is back in Greek waters, 60% stake in the Ionian Seas Block 2, first drilling in 2026, first gas by 2030, and this is just the beginning. After 40 years of hesitation, Greece just handed American energy giants the keys to Europe's newest gas frontier. The message is clear: American capital, Greek geography, European markets. And third, when Turkey unveiled its latest maritime zoning plan, Greece responded decisively. Athens filed formal charges calling it illegal under international law. No more diplomatic ambiguity. No more "we'll work it out." This was a firm rejection of Turkish territorial claims, a turning point after decades of cautious silence. Here's what makes this moment explosive. The €2.4 billion Great Sea Interconnector's budget isn't just infrastructure, it's a strategic statement. This project spans 900 kilometers of underwater power transmission with 2,000 megawatts of capacity, diving 3,000 meters deep. When completed in 2030, it will carry enough electricity to power 2 million European homes, creating an energy corridor that bypasses Russian gas and Turkish territorial waters entirely. And now, another long-paused project is returning from the shadows: the EastMed pipeline. Originally declared commercially uncertain, it is once again being re-evaluated as Europe scrambles to replace lost Russian gas volumes. Stretching nearly 1,900 kilometers, the pipeline could carry up to 10 billion cubic meters of natural gas every year from Israeli, Cypriot, and future Greek fields onward to Europe. At a time when the EU has legally committed to phasing out all Russian gas imports by the end of 2027, the EastMed offers something rare: a stable route that passes entirely through Allied waters. For the first time since the 1974 Cyprus crisis, Greece and Cyprus have a concrete, funded, and internationally backed plan to transform decades of regional tension into a shared framework of maritime cooperation and energy growth. Washington sees this as Europe's energy independence insurance policy. Brussels sees it as the Mediterranean Marshall Plan, and Athens sees it as the moment Greece becomes Europe's energy gateway. But here's the billion-euro question. Can Greece and Cyprus actually deliver, or is this just another Mediterranean mirage? Next, we'll expose the alliances and military guarantees that could make this the most consequential maritime deal of the decade, and show who's really prepared to protect it. By the way, only 14.7% of you are subscribed. If this kind of deep dive geopolitics matters to you, like and subscribe. Let's keep revealing what others miss. Every great plan needs protection, and in the Eastern Mediterranean, Greece and Cyprus are no longer standing alone. Behind them stands an alliance of power, one that stretches from Washington to Paris and from Tel Aviv to Cairo. Let's start with the United States. In 2024, Washington approved the sale of 20 F-35 stealth fighters to Greece with an option for 20 more. The first deliveries are expected in 2028. This isn't just an arms deal, it's a signal. The US is anchoring Greece as NATO's southern shield, controlling the airspace from the Ionian Sea to the Levant. Add to that the American bases at Suda Bay in Crete and Alexandroupolis, now permanent logistics and deterrence hubs, and the message becomes clear. Every new kilometer of cable and pipeline in the Eastern Mediterranean will operate under Western protection. Then comes the French connection, perhaps the most strategically intimate alliance Greece has today. France's Rafale fighter jets, already in Greek squadrons, have altered the balance of air power in the Aegean. Armed with Meteor missiles and advanced Spectra electronic warfare systems, they dominate airspace far beyond Greek borders. Meanwhile, Greece is preparing to receive 4 Belhara-class frigates, each armed with Aster 30 missiles capable of intercepting targets over 120 kilometers away. The total contract, valued at around 5 billion euros, includes full logistical and training support, but more importantly, it's backed by the 2021 Franco-Greek Defense Pact, which obliges both nations to assist one another in case of external attack, extending French deterrence deep into the Eastern Mediterranean. Next is Israel, the technological core of this emerging alliance. Over the past 2 years, joint military exercises between Israel, Greece, and Cyprus have tripled, ranging from electronic warfare to naval rescue operations. The Spike NLOS missile systems, already delivered to Greece, now give its army precision strike capability up to 32 kilometers away, from land, sea, or air. Meanwhile, negotiations continue for the acquisition of the Barak MX air defense system, which would create a seamless shield across Greece and Cyprus's shared airspace once finalized. In the coming years, these same nations will share radar data and missile coverage, integrating energy security with regional defense. And finally, Egypt, the southern anchor. Through the East Med Gas Forum, Cairo supports the UNCLOS framework that Turkey rejects. Its LNG terminals already export Israeli and Cypriot gas to Europe, while its navy coordinates patrols across the Suez Eastern Med corridor. Together, these alliances form more than a military safety net. They form a strategic shield. F-35s, Rafales, Belharis, and Spike missiles don't just protect assets. They protect a vision, a unified Greek-Cypriot maritime frontier built to last. For the first time in modern history, Greece and Cyprus can plan their future at sea without fearing isolation. Behind them now stand the world's most advanced air forces and naval fleets, all working toward one purpose: ensuring that the new map of the Eastern Mediterranean stays drawn. Next, we'll look back, tracing how decades of diplomacy, treaties, and international law built the foundation for this moment, and how UNCLOS gave Greece and Cyprus their strongest weapon yet: legitimacy. When alliances shift and new infrastructure rises, money follows power. And today, Power is flowing through Greece and Cyprus, so I'm aligning my investments with that momentum. One ETF I've been following is up about 46% since January. I'll share which one and why in a moment. I use Freedom 24 because the fees are competitive, the platform is straightforward, and I can get support in my own language when I need it. And here's the simple reason I invest at all. Uninvested cash loses purchasing power to inflation. Every year it sits idle, it buys a little less. Certainly, investing involves risks, which is exactly why I diversify with ETFs. Think of an ETF like the new Eastern Mediterranean energy corridors, one route carrying dozens, sometimes hundreds, of companies, giving you diversification without having to analyze every sector yourself. Right now, the ETF I'm especially watching is the Alpha ETF with ticker AETF, which has delivered around 46% since the start of the year. I want steady exposure to solid companies while still riding strong performance when it appears. Of course, investing involves risk. Forecasts and past performance are not reliable indicators of future results. Quick heads up, sign up takes roughly 15 minutes, worth it in my view. Beyond being a solid investing platform, Freedom 24 gives you a clean feed of official corporate news and market announcements in one place. Check the description for the Freedom 24 welcome offer, and if you join through our link, you directly support this channel and help us keep producing independent geopolitical analysis. Here's something few people realize. Greece and Cyprus don't need permission to unite their seas. They already have the law on their side. For half a century, politics stalled what international law had already settled. The rules were written in 1982 in the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. It grants every coastal state the right to claim an exclusive economic zone, or EEZ, extending up to 200 nautical miles from its shores. Within that zone, a nation has exclusive rights over all natural resources, from fish and gas to offshore wind and seabed minerals. Here's the decisive fact. Greece and Cyprus have both ratified UNCLOS. Turkey has not, and they're far from alone. 167 countries and the European Union have already ratified it, making UNCLOS one of the most universally accepted treaties in modern history. That means the world, not just Europe, acknowledges the framework Greece and Cyprus rely on. Let's rewind to see how they built their case. Cyprus moved first. In 2003, it signed its EEZ agreement with Egypt, drawing maritime borders based strictly on UNCLOS principles. In 2010, it did the same with Israel, which paved the way for the discovery of the Aphrodite and Leviathan gas fields, game changers that made Cyprus a real energy player. Greece, for decades, hesitated to act, but that changed decisively in the last few years. In June 2020, Athens signed a landmark EEZ delimitation agreement with Italy, setting the boundary across the Ionian Sea, the first for Greece in the 21st century. Then, just 2 months later, in August 2020, Greece struck another deal with Egypt, defining their maritime borders south of Crete and Rhodes. These two agreements ended 40 years of diplomatic hesitation and drew the first legally recognized lines against Turkey's controversial Libya Memorandum, signed in 2019. Once Greece and Egypt signed that deal, investor confidence surged. International energy giants, ExxonMobil, Chevron, Total Energies, returned because clarity attracts capital. A line on a map turned into billions in exploration rights. Meanwhile, Cyprus used law as leverage. By working within UNCLOS and through the East Med Gas Forum, which includes Greece, Egypt, Israel, Italy, and France, Nicosia turned legality into diplomacy. That forum has quietly evolved into a regional bloc built entirely on the same legal foundation Turkey rejects. And that's the irony. Ankara's refusal to sign UNCLOS isolates it. The more it denies international law, the more the rest of the world organizes around it. Every new boundary Greece or Cyprus draws under UNCLOS makes Turkish claims weaker. Step by step, law is redrawing the Mediterranean without a single ship or missile fired. In the Eastern Mediterranean, the most powerful weapon isn't military. It's legal certainty backed by alliances, investors, and global recognition. We'll explore what happens next, the risks, the reactions, and how this bold maritime plan could reshape the region's future for decades to come. For decades, Turkey tried to play both sides, the West's NATO partner and the East's rising power. But that balancing act is over. Today, Ankara isn't bridging continents, it's building its own empire. Under President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Turkey's foreign policy has shifted from cooperation to confrontation. The dream of zero problems with neighbors has given way to a vision of neo-Ottoman revival, influence stretching from Libya to Gaza, from the Aegean to the Caucasus. But that ambition came with a price: trust. Ankara purchased Russian S-400 missile systems, defying NATO and triggering U.S. sanctions. It opened channels with Iran, Hamas, and Moscow, turning into a wild card in a region that demands predictability. Washington and Brussels saw the shift and responded. In 2019, the United States expelled Turkey from the F-35 program, cutting off stealth technology and joint production worth billions. No F-35s, no access to fifth-generation systems, a historic fall from grace for a founding NATO member. Meanwhile, Europe began redrawing its energy map without Turkey. The East Med pipeline, the Great Sea Interconnector, and even the India-Middle East-Europe corridor, IMEC, all share one goal: bypassing Turkish territory. Every kilometer of new infrastructure from Israel, Cyprus, and Greece to Europe is a statement that energy and stability can now flow without Ankara's approval. But here's the strategic reality Greece and Cyprus must face. Turkey's geography still matters. It controls the Bosporus and Dardanelles, the choke points between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean that NATO cannot ignore. Its army remains one of Europe's largest, its navy increasingly modernized. The risks are real. What if Ankara escalates maritime incidents? What if energy prices crash, making projects unviable? What if political winds shift in Washington or Brussels? Yet the opportunity is massive. Projections suggest that by 2030, the East Med corridor could deliver a significant share of Europe's gas imports, potentially reaching up to 1/10 of the EU's import volume and generating tens of billions of euros in value. The money trail analysis is simple. In geopolitics, alignment is currency. As Turkey drifts eastward, Greece and Cyprus rise as Europe's southern pillars, controlling the energy, stability, and partnerships that Ankara once dominated. But success demands vigilance. Every Aegean provocation, every energy fluctuation, every political shift will test this new alliance. In the Eastern Mediterranean, who you stand with matters more than where you stand. The choice is made. The infrastructure is building. Now comes the hardest question. Can Greece and Cyprus deliver on their promise while managing the risks of regional leadership? The map of the Eastern Mediterranean is changing, not with tanks or treaties, but with cables, alliances, and strategy. For the first time in modern history, Greece and Cyprus aren't reacting to the region's storms, they're shaping them. 50 years after the Great Maritime Deadlock began, the pieces have finally fallen into place. The law through UNCLOS, the alliances with the US, France, Israel, and Egypt, and the money now flowing from Brussels and Washington. Together, they're turning blue water into geopolitical power, connecting energy, sovereignty, and security in one grand design. But with leadership comes risk. Every cable laid, every border drawn, every alliance tested will decide how far Greece and Cyprus can go before the waves shift again. One thing is certain, the Mediterranean will never look the same. And as always, we'll be here to follow the money right here on Money Trail. Special thanks to Freedom24 for supporting this strategic deep dive. If you're ready to take control of your financial future with smart investment tools, check out the link in the description below. If this analysis showed you how Greece and Cyprus are reshaping the Eastern Mediterranean map, hit subscribe to stay ahead of the story. I'm also sure you'll enjoy the videos appearing on your screen right now.